We went 8 months without landing, without closing a deal. That is, that's kind of like, oh, wow. But they were putting us the first call, the first one that we got in front of. It's like, I had no idea these guys were there. They had no idea we were here. They were, you start talking, 50, 60, 70 man shop that needs our support, needs us, and has project work on top of that. It's like, oh, this is real. And we saw that early on. We've had a few misses, you walked in front of a couple. It's like, okay, that was too small. That's where we got our sales. We refined our sales process. We started closing deals after 8 months with them, and we've continued to close deals with them. We've closed deals on our own as well. So we've improved our internal sales process. We've improved, and we work with them very closely. A lot of feedback. Jason's first call after a sales call is call up our tech, our rep up there at Arsenal, and say, hey, this is how it went. This is what's going on. And he's taking and tracking all that stuff.
Introducing our friend Alan. Alan, how did you find yourself in this crazy MSP world?
I've really enjoyed computers for a long time. My first computer was an IBM PS2 Model 30 back in late 80s. So I've really had a passion for it for a long time. Went into the Air Force, spent some time in there, went in open electronics, tried to get into an IT field, ended up in satellites, which was adjacent and was good. And then came out and went to work for Walmart. Went in there as a Unix admin, which was I did 5.5 years there. And a manager when I was leaving said, man, 5.5 years. He says, you can do less time in the pen for burglary than that. It was an intense environment. 5 years there was like drinking from a fire hose the whole time. And then I went on to Tyson Foods. So I got a lot of Fortune 100 IT and Unix experience in my background. And really still enjoy it today. Still do home labbing and stuff like that. Not as much as I used to, but still do that. So when we were at Tyson, Tyson was my forever job. It was, I enjoyed the culture, enjoyed the management, enjoyed the positions and promotions I've been getting, enjoyed the people I worked with. And management changed like it does, and culture changed, and it wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't the place I wanted to be. And my business partner and I, we decided we would take the challenge, make the plunge, and jump out and go do this thing called Integritech. We went through the Arkansas Small Business Technology Development Center. ASBTDC. It's really just an SBA program for helping you write a business plan and thinking about the things you're going to need to start a business. So we completed that and went out and opened our doors and started trying to figure out how we actually do business. We're great nerds. We know what to do with computers. We know how to take care of them. We can make them hum. We can make them sing. Large servers. We can do all that. But you got to sell yourself. You got to sell your business.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Let's go back to your time in the chair force. I'm sorry, the Air Force. You went in there right out of high school?
Yeah, pretty much. I tried about a semester and a half of college and realized that I didn't have the discipline for that.
And what is that? That's down in San Antonio. Well, Lackland? Yeah, okay. So you show up there, in what, 88, 89, something like that?
It'd been 91, yeah.
91, sorry. Okay, there we go. And all these young airmen, you're coming down there, high speed, low drag, going to be a bunch of killers. Are you thinking I'm starting my journey of a 20-year career in the military, or was this, I don't know what else to do right now?
Yeah, it's more of the second one. It's like they're going to pay me, they're going to train me,
Yeah,
they're going to tell me where to go, and you don't have to make those decisions, unless you really want to at that age. So, yeah, that was they're giving you money for college and stuff like that too. And my brother had been in the Air Force, my father had been in the Army. And my dad had told me, he goes, yeah, I used to go. He was over in England a long time ago, and he said he'd go sneak in with the Air Force guys on the same base and eat in their chow hall because the food was a lot better. So
That's exactly it. All right. So you go in there, and were you doing Air National Guard, or were you going full time for 4 years?
full time. Yep. Full
Okay.
time. And I actually reenlisted. I did just under 9 years.
You did. Okay.
Yeah.
And what did we get up to? E5, E6?
E5. There you go.
Oh, outstanding. All right. Very cool. And stationed at anywhere fun along the way?
Join the military, see the world. I got to go to Texas. I got to go to Colorado. I got to go to Alaska and back to Colorado.
Is that
I
right?
will. um, so I was in the space systems specialist, and like ground station type stuff, missile warning, that type of things. I spent some time at Cheyenne Mountain. That was cool.
I was just going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, 4 foot thick concrete doors
Yes.
to wall that thing off whenever they wanted to close them. But the last job I had was fantastic. I was with the Air Force Space Support Team. We were taking space to the warfighter. This was where I really, okay, we're doing satellites, we're doing computer adjacent stuff. Was sitting in front of a screen all the time. But when I got the space support team, it's like, okay, how can we go deploy with the warfighter and take space to them? So um, I got a Sun Microsystems laptop. I got a Cisco router. I got crypto gear, and I got an Inmarsat terminal. And we got to go deploy so I did get to see the world a little bit. I got deployed to Bahrain and Qatar and Italy, but bringing those over there and showing them things that they hadn't seen before. It's kind of like, I'm here. Here's my stuff. Where do I stay? Well, build a tent, because we were with, yeah, we were with uh, JTF, Joint Task Force. I think is what it was, or Air Expeditionary Wing. It's a long time ago now. um, but we go get set up, and with the crypto gear we had, with everything we had, we could bring down the secret traffic that we needed to. We could bring down imagery. We could, you don't think about it. Space weather is a thing. Um, it's like, yeah, some of the things you wouldn't think about that they would need was um, the radio engineer guys are troubleshooting a band outage. They were short. They were couldn't communicate on these bands during this time frame. It's like, oh, well, 50th Space Weather Squadron just said that there'd been a solar flare from this time to this area that would have affected this latitude and longitude, and these bands. Like, you can stop searching. That's where your problems came from. And then just stuff, GPS type stuff. Oh yeah, we got a satellite out here. Uh, Take that into consideration when planning missions, type stuff. So
In that era, you were in for most of the 90s, just rapidly advancing technology. You're going to these great places. You're living that military life. Right now in my world, I've got a young person in our life that been in the Air Force about 2 years now, and his MOS was to be a load master on some monster cargo plane. And I'm just watching him, 22, 23 years old, and he's flying missions everywhere. He gets to be in the front of the cockpit. Just amazing stories, just so much going on. And I will put him aside. And I've got a colleague that we work with that, she was in the Air Force as well as a linguist, speaks Farsi, and she spent years just headphones on, listening to boring things, terrible things, all of that. And for both of them, for different reasons, I think what a tough transition, yourself included, from you're talking about solar flares and cloud, things going on in space. And then that comes to this end and you're back in the civilian world. How strange is that transition? How prepared did you have to be? How prepared did you feel to kind of take, excitement from anyone else's perspective, maybe boring to you, but to have to come and say, oh, now I'm just back out here.
So I took the easy way out. I got an early out, got released from my enlistment, a couple months early. Um, so I left on a Friday, and then on Monday I came back in, walked down the same hallway, had a different badge with me and badged in, turned to the right or turned to the left instead of the right, and worked for a contractor. We were doing something very similar. They just doing some support for them. So that made for an easy transition.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but without quite as much excitement and things like that. But uh, they try to do a good job in transitioning you, but the expectations they put on you and the trust they place in you, um, trust and verify. It's you don't get the same thing going into the standard workforce. Um, so yeah, you see a resume from a vet, they'll say, managed, was responsible for a, $10 million this or a, a fleet of
right,
Humvees and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, as a senior airman
right, right.
so, yeah, it's different, but I mean, a lot of the times you're ready for that change. It's kind of like, okay, run, 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 run. And now it's, okay. You mean I can clock in at 8 and clock out at 5 and go home, spend time with the family. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It seems like it's all to degrees and perceptions of how hard that transition is or how easy that transition is. I know for the young person that's still in, about I think it wasn't even 18 months, and he is like, "There's no way I'm reenlisting. I got to get out of here. This is a nightmare." Now he's another year in, and he's like, "No, no, I'll probably reenlist." Just that wave
sure.
of I'm fed up, I'm not fed up, all of it. But as an older person, I say, dude, just put your 20 years in. You're still going to be so young when you get out. You'll find plenty to do. The security of putting that 20 years in will make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, good. So then you come out, you go into Walmart, which that just sounds like a wild experience of working for Walmart. I know today it would not be, doesn't always have the best reputation, but I'm sure back office and doing important work that you did, it probably felt like a great place to be, I would imagine.
Um, uh, it was, uh, it was a learning opportunity. Got to do a lot of stuff. Uh, got to work on got to work on the raised floor and, ordering servers, cutting deals with the vendors, planning projects, executing. And it's just so big. It's so big. If you think about it, the more people you need, like networking, you could have a network team, but the network team gets further broke down into, route switch and maybe voice over IP or maybe, whatever technology you're using back then. But even back then, they were so far broke down, they had an IPAM team, IP address management team. Anytime you're dealing with a company that's, has 4,000 locations and 4,000 stores and a whole bunch, more distribution centers and offices and stuff like that, that stuff gets important that you don't overlap that stuff, and yeah, it's just the scale is something else.
Yeah. I heard this thing. I don't know if you got into the lore of Walmart much, but somebody just recently shared to me that way, way back in the day, Sam Walton, I guess it was the founder, he required that his district managers uh, were also pilots so that they could fly to their stores and be home for dinner. And I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a semi-reasonable thing, but have you ever heard that same thing, or are there some other kind of lore things you could share with us about Walmart?
Yeah, I don't know if he required them all to be, but I know that he was, and it was nothing for him to grab hop in the plane and go hit 3 or 4 stores and, walk in the door and see how things are going and make changes. I know, yeah, he did that quite a bit, and, you know, I think the flight plan was whatever he decided the flight plan needed to be where at whatever time.
That's
But, I
right.
mean, like, when I went to work there, the expectation was it's a it's a 9-hour workday with a 1-hour lunch, so it's 10 hours, and like I said, this would have been 2001, and it was, expected to be there, and you rolled in at 7, you rolled out at 5.
Dang,
Yeah,
that'll
um,
get you going.
Yeah.
You know, I think I was on a flight from, Chicago down to Louisiana or Texas or something, and it's the only time in all the millions of miles I've flown that we had to divert, and they diverted us to Bentonville. And I was like, "Where is Bentonville?" Like, I didn't know about Walmart and all that, and you pull into that airport, and it was like, "Oh, we're in Walmart land." It was when RFID was becoming a big thing, so I'm like, "We're in this really tiny part of the country. Why all this tech talk?" You know? And, they put us in a hotel, and it was like, "Oh, this is where Walmart people who come to visit are vendors." So it's middle of the night, out before light, but that's when I learned that Walmart was in Bentonville. So,
Yeah.
but that's where you were checking in and checking out. That was your world for how many years?
I did 5 years, well, I'm still living in Bentonville today,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
did 5 years there, and we got the corridor here of, Walmart at the north end of the anchor, JB Hunt here in the middle, and Lowell,
Mm.
and then, Tyson Foods in Springdale.
Oh,
So,
wow. Okay.
yeah.
Dang. And then how long were you with Tyson then?
13 years?
And being in IT in those roles, again, there's opinions vary so much, and Tyson in some circles is just kind of like, oh, there you go, the terrible, food industry and all the hormones and all the things. When you're working in that environment, do you get the opportunity to say, oh, well, let me see where the chickens are, let me see how they actually do things, or are you so busy in your section that it's like, I don't have time to go and look and see how amazing or not amazing all this is.
Yeah, they're you're pretty busy. I mean, you know, you they're not over hiring. They're not hiring a bunch of people and going, "Oh, yeah, what are you doing? You got nothing to do today?" But we'd make it a point. You could go get a poultry tour. You could go, because Tyson was not just chicken. It's Tyson bought IBP a long time ago. So that's Iowa Beef Products or something like that. All right, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what it was, but got to go to do installations at plants. We took servers up there and installed, and redundant re- redundant external disk arrays. Run AIX, doing Power HA, able to fail over from one to the other. And at one point, we backed away from Power HA and just wrote scripts to do it ourselves. But you go to a beef plant, and it's kind of funny. The chicken plants had little to no technology. Never went to one myself, but the beef plants, they had a lot more going on there. Um, I remember walking out on the floor. I got a tour before we were doing the install, and you walk through this place, and they got the big primals coming in on the hooks, and they're coming across, and they got somebody making cuts on them and stuff like that. And there's an army of people out there cutting this, cutting that, and
Yeah,
making one cut, pulling something off the thing, making a cut, pushing it back, maybe pushing it back to two different racks,
right.
and then you walk you walk through all that and see what all's going on. You got the machines doing the wrapping and the packaging, and then it goes up an escalator or a conveyor belt, goes through the wall, and then you go to the other wall, the other side, and it's cold storage. It's you see two, three, four people over there. That's it, and you got the robots running around. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, it was cool. It was
Yeah,
neat. Saw a big I don't know, what do you call it? Kind of like a carousel. Had a machine that would take these individual cases and slide over to carousel number one, go all the way up to, rack 10, and then it would spin the carousel around and drop it in slot 37 or whatever.
amazing,
Yeah,
amazing.
it, it was
I
neat.
was I was on a motorcycle trip a million years ago from Chicago out to Colorado, and as we came down from Kansas City and down through Dodge City and heading west, it's whatever 4 in the morning, 6 in the morning, and we're like, "What's that glow out in the horizon?" And we get closer, it's like, "What's that smell?" And it was some, I don't know what it was, but it was for miles, it was just cattle, 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 and they were all kind of funneling into their place where they get transported wherever they're going next. But it was a sight to behold. Absolutely, get a sense of just how much meat we eat as a country. It's a tough thing to try to make sure everyone's fed for
Yeah.
sure.
I've driven through Dodge, and you can smell it before you see it.
Yep. Yep. You know it. You know it. And so now I'm feeling this odd theme where one of the things doesn't look like the other. You go from structured military to big corporate to all on your own. No backstop, no 14 layers of management and executives that you'll never meet, to just you and your buddy saying, "Let's go feed our families."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a jump. It was a leap of faith, and I do mean faith.
Yes.
Jason and I were both involved in our churches, and we were being geeks, being technologists, and when you work in a Fortune 100 company, they can't go give me the Windows passwords. They can't, they can't let me go build a Windows server. They can't let me work on the voice over IP system. You got Sarbanes-Oxley, and you got controls in place so that you can't learn these things. But you go raise your hand at church and like, hey, I'll do some IT stuff for you. I go, oh, here's a Windows server. Yeah, we need some voice over IP. Can you do video too? How about audio? It's like, okay, so we were branching out and doing stuff like that and volunteering our time and and it's kind of one of the things we noticed was a um, a beef plant looks a whole lot like a small office remote office looks like a whole lot like a church. They've got to have printing functions. They've got to have network. They've got to have Wi-Fi. You know, they got to have phones. It's the same stuff. And so that really prepped us um, for getting out and doing this on our own when it was kind of like there's businesses out there. Businesses, and that's the thing. Remote office, branch office looks like a church, looks like a small office or a business for an entrepreneur out here. And it's like, yeah, we can go do this. We've been doing this. This is not the technology's not hard.
Right. Right. And so at some point, you two guys are, we could do this, we could start this business, we could do it. Then there's probably spouses or loved ones that we have to now say, hey, we're going to take this really solid paycheck and turn it into this big mysterious question mark of a paycheck. Uh,
Yeah.
everyone was on board and feeling good. They clearly made the right decision, or you all made the right decision. But how scary of a transition was that for the loved ones?
They were definitely in it with us. My wife's a stay-at-home mother. And I was on the tail end. I've got four boys, and I was on the tail end of getting them all out of the house. So
Okay.
there's a little less demand on my time for
Yes.
all of the activities. And it was, uh, yeah, it was hard. It was, we lived on our cushion for a while, um, but we did hit points in our business where it's like, this isn't working, or we're doing this, but how do we get paid for it? And at one point, Jason and I, we went over to the whiteboard. We were in our first office. Yeah, okay, I should go back up. From the beginning, we said we're a business. We're going to be a real business. So we went out and got a insurance plan. We went out and I mean health insurance. Company
Oh,
paid
good
health
for
insurance.
you. Wow.
We went out and got an office because we're not going to be some um, trunk slammers is a term I've heard. We're not going to, we're going to go have an office that people can come to. We bought pods. It's not just whatever desk we can find. Now we didn't blow our money. I mean, we bought used pods.
Sure,
The
sure.
office we moved into, we didn't know. It's like, okay, well, we'll take it the way it is. And then we actually built out the couple of walls in there that we needed to build out. Made the changes we need to make. And then, so we've done all that. So we're at the whiteboard at one point in this thing, and it's like, man, like I said, we're charging $25 a PC. We're charging, $15 per network device. Whether that's a switch, a router, or access point, and and it's tough. People are paying us, and we're pretty excited about people paying us. Uh, they're not paying us a whole lot, and we understand all the blinky lights and all of the things. It's like, of course, that's what we charge on. You got a server, you got two servers, you got a virtual machine in that server. So um, we had to change what we're doing. One of the things we came back to was, it's like we drew a circle on the board. I said, okay, here's our customers. All right, this customer, how do we get them? Referral. Okay. How do we get this one? Referral, referral, referral. How do we get this one? Website. Somebody found us on the website. We're
Yes,
thrilled.
exciting. Yeah, for sure.
And then it's like, okay, I've got 1/3 of the board over here. There's 2/3 of the board. I'm like, there's this area of people we don't know and people who don't know us. And that was something that we sat on for quite a while. That and I should go back and say one other thing. I kind of cut Jason deep. I said, Jason, would you ever wanted to work on the help desk at Tyson? He's like, no, I turned down that job. Would you want to, you know, I wouldn't either. I said, you know what we've done? We've built ourselves jobs as help desk technicians. And it's kind of, oh, that's harsh. and it's
Yes.
about reframing it and looking at it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so as you kind of had these stages of, okay, we know we should charge something, we know we should charge, based on something, then you get exposed to some other models, so you've, charged on something different and charging more. You've got so many lessons to kind of learn in that phase of, how to sell, how to price, how to market, how to operationalize the delivery of the services. What was kind of the first area that you felt like, oh, we've figured this out, or we've gotten to a really comfortable place here? In all those areas, what kind of came first for you all, where you felt like, okay, we've figured something out pretty successfully?
So we got on with the tech tribe, and we got some of Nigel's pricing calculators and started reading through some of the forums and understanding that our clients don't understand that this router should charge cost more than this access point or whatever we were doing at that time. And they understand bodies. And this body in this seat costs me this much per month. And this body. And they understand that they don't have a problem going, okay, and there's a base infrastructure charge. So we started breaking all that stuff out or actually I should say consolidating it down. You had, you had this rate for your head count and you had this rate for your base infrastructure. And people, they understood it. Our clients understood it, or at least enough to buy off and sign contracts with us. Um, and we went with that. And it's like, oh, okay, this is kind of how you get a business going. This is kind of how you run a business. This is how you make enough money to cover your expenses and everything. So that was one big turning point for us. Um,
Yeah. And so as you go through that, and I think that's such a so awesome that you found Tech Tribe, and Nigel is just awesome and just shares so much, and just I just can't say enough good things about him and his program. When you get into that spot of saying, okay, well, how much does this thing cost? This person, this license, and now how do we charge for that? I think one of the tricky things that we observe a lot of folks doing in their first iterations is they base the price on their emotion, on what they think people will pay or won't pay. And then their next default is, well, how much does everyone else charge? And then they kind of get into, like, we've got this revenue. Why aren't we more profitable?
yeah,
Well, because the one variable you didn't consider was what our costs are and what our margins could or should be.
right.
Sounds like you guys came to that pretty early on with some of Nigel's help of tying
I,
cost to
I
revenue.
wouldn't say, I wouldn't say early on.
Okay.
We stroked at it for years before we kind of latched onto that. Let's see, we closed at our first office after 2 years on that lease, and we're on our lease on this the next office before we made this discovery. So we were at least 3 years in before we started doing that. Jason's got a better memory for that than I do, but yeah, I love so. I love my Excel spreadsheets, and I will get in there and I will figure stuff out. And even even it's so important to me, if nothing else, even if we just set that this is the price for a head count, and this is our stack of tools that goes in to manage that head count. Okay, just because I didn't do the markup on it, I have got to go back and backfill and back into those numbers and go, okay, this is the markup on this because this is what we're charging. Now that's not, going forward, obviously want to charge based on some kind of markup and stuff like that. But because I can't change out an hour. Jason, if he comes to me and says, "Hey, we're dropping this AB and we're picking up this AB, or we're dropping this provider and we're picking up this provider to replace it," well, if that's a $2 a head spread, I need to I need to figure that out, and I need to know, okay, that's great, and you're right, it's absolutely going to protect our customers better, but that's um, we got to. How are you going to go sell it? How are you, you know? And we did that a lot too. It's like, oh, we have to do that because this is going to protect our customers. And we would add tools into our stack and add tools into our stack, and then not raise our prices. So we've spend time going back and fixing things. We have a saying here. It's we're dealing with the sins of our past.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, you know,
So you love your Excel spreadsheets. Have you found an appreciation or a love-hate relationship with the financials? Have you started kind of becoming a real student of MSP financials?
I am. Yes, I'm working on that. I'm improving. Going through and it's getting the chance now to work more on the business. I haven't picked up a help desk call in a year probably, um, and that's because we've got people doing that. You got to manage everything else. You got to manage the vendors. You got to manage the people who are picking up those phone calls. You got to manage the training. But um, getting to work on the business is a good thing, and that's just not something you can do when you're picking up that phone.
Listen, I have this kind of urge, and I don't know where it's coming from to kind of go down a financial conversation with you because I know in speaking with your partner the other day, you guys, and I'm not going to put your business out there, but you guys have had some real tremendous success in your revenue that I'm just really excited for you guys. And if I'm remembering, you guys are about 8 years in, is that right?
Yeah,
And
yeah. We're
so,
8 years
uh,
on paper, 7 years with our doors open. Yeah.
there you go. So the revenue that you all have achieved um, is top 5%. Do you know this, by the way?
He mentioned it the other day, and I was like, "What?" That-
Oh yeah. I was on a call with a client that we've had for, I don't know, 10 years. He's been in business since, 2004, something like that. He's at your same revenue number. And, he's mastered it. He's nicely profitable, makes a great living. But he's in that same top 5%. It's taken him that many years to get to where you guys have gotten in 7.
We'll be right back with more, but first, here's a quick message from Bering McKinley.
Most MSPs are constantly busy, chasing tickets, projects, and fires. But without structure, it's hard to know if the business is really improving. Vision from Bering McKinley is the system that helps you work on your business, not just in it. It connects leadership strategy with daily execution. Vision aligns people, process, and performance, creating clarity and rhythm from goals to results. And the Vision app brings that structure to life, helping you create policies, track goals, review KPIs, and collaborate with your BMK consultant all in one place. Behind it all, Jetson AI, your assistant inside Vision, helps you find answers, generate insights, and take action faster. With Vision, you gain visibility, accountability, and measurable growth. You're not guessing, you're improving. Vision, Jetson, and the Vision app, your path from strategy to results. Start transforming your business today.
All right, let's get back to the conversation.
Yeah.
So something you're doing is working beautifully. So I have this temptation to kind of like, for the benefit of people watching this later, maybe there's something interesting for you. But you mind if we kind of dig into the financials, not your particular dollars and cents, but just conversation around that?
Well, let's go for it. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to share my screen, and you tell me if you can see that nice and clear.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So the first question I'll ask you is, are you following some financial model around MSPs? Is there something that you've been studying or that really attracted you?
Um, no, we're not following financial models.
Okay.
We are still in the process of what are good margins? What are our margins? And going through and just really we're in such a growth mode right now. We've hired 5 people this year. Well, 6 if you count the guy starting on Monday. So uh, and I kind of I was in Chat GPT. I was loading up some, putting some financial what ifs in there, and really, I understand the concept of margins. We run backing sheets for every project so that I know what my input costs are, what my labor costs are, and what my profit's going to be, and what my margins. And I can see my margin on hardware. I can see my margin on labor. So those things are important to me. And then usually, it thumb in the air for the labor. I mean, we figured it out as best we possibly can. But you'll have guys who tweak it just a little bit more, just put a little more time in there, just make it perfect. And you can't really criticize them for taking great care of the clients and stuff like that. Um, so, but yeah, those numbers are important, and I'm working on learning what those mean. So I'm kind of curious, what's the screen showing me here?
Yeah, yeah, good question. It's a kind of an intimidating wheel to look at on the first glance. So, as you've kind of gone through your journey of understanding even what a P&L is or a balance sheet, one of the things that you'll recall or that is still evolving in your head is that the profit and loss statement is just a math formula. Revenue minus COGS equals gross profit minus expenses equals net profit. So when we think about that, we say, well, 17% is just, for various reasons, kind of a best in class number of net profit is to, if I can achieve 17%, I know I've won the P&L game of MSP. Okay.
Okay.
But when we dig in deeper, we look at a couple or about 13 metrics that lead us to 17%. So if we start on the inside part of this wheel, this is 100% of our total income. Well, in fact, you have 3 primary types of income in your business. You've got the services revenue, the project, the hourly, and the recurring. That's the service. You sell some physical product, and you sell some licenses. So the first thing we're always curious with people is, what percentage of your revenue comes from each of those buckets? And what we find is initially, until people start really kind of managing to their numbers, it's whatever we sold is what the ratio is. There's not a lot of intentionality to it.
Right.
If I asked you what percentage of your revenue comes from these 3 buckets, is that an answer that you would have top of mind? Or is it not
Oh,
something you've
yeah, I would say we're probably 60% MRR, but I don't necessarily break out software differently than MRR. So that's probably we do break it out. I don't, uh,
well,
you know,
and here's why that gets really important is if I think of MRR, that's our managed services, that's under the category of service revenue. And the service revenue we're trying to achieve 55% gross profit on. Right? If I put my licenses or my software in there, well, you can't read this because it's too small. We're only trying to get about 18% on licenses. So if I have those in the same revenue and COG bucket,
yeah.
I no longer have the ability to understand why I'm getting the profits I should be or not getting the profits I should be.
No, that's a good
So,
point.
yeah, so splitting them out. The name of the game is get 42% overall gross profit margin, and I don't care how you do it. If you're getting 42 and you can do that quarter after quarter after quarter, you don't really have to answer many questions why. But if you're not hitting 42%, now you need these things categorized in a way that you can say, there's our problem. we're overstaffed. There's our problem. We aren't charging enough. There's our problem. We aren't marking up our product enough, or we sell too much product relative to our service at a much lower gross profit margin. It starts explaining the story of how you're doing. You understand?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
this is this is not something that, I would have loved to have seen something like this, 7 years ago.
Well,
Um,
and yeah, I love you said that. What we find is you're not in a short line right now. You're in a very long line. You don't get exposed to this until you get exposed to it. And most people don't get exposed to it until they've been around for 5, 10, 15 years, because that first 5, 10 years, you're just head down, just trying to make a living. And then you reach some discomfort or comfort spot where you can say, let me go ask. Let me go just ask somebody. You know what I mean? And then you get exposed to it. And then you say, okay, now am I going to ignore this, or am I going to actually do something with it? All
yeah.
right. And, guys, folks with your, um, ability to achieve what you've achieved elsewhere in your life, you have all the aptitude in the world to master this as well. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, oh, I didn't know it was like that. Now you showed me this is easy. I can do this. But until you get shown it, it's really tricky. But I think the number that gets really curious to me for people, and I don't want to turn this into some goofy lecture, the number that gets really exciting for me is you said something about 60% of the revenue is MRR.
Mhm.
Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a big number. That's not $5,000 a month. That's some much bigger number. Okay. Now, I'm not going to try to be bust your chops or anything like that here. How are we measuring the profitability of each one of those contracts and the portfolio as a whole? How do you guys attack that?
So, we just recently started. I've done this before. I tried to head down a path of assessing the quality of a client. And the quality of a client is not just the profitability. If you got somebody who's abusing you, but you're making a lot of money off of abusing your staff, that's not something somebody you want to keep around. So yeah, you get rid of them. So, we would, I would take and go, here's the money we're pulling in from this monthly contract. Here is the number of hours that we're spending on all of the tickets for this contract or for this person, this group. And then it would also look at any project sales, hardware sales or project sales going to them, and just kind of look and kind of, go, okay, this is a quality client, and basically, and I don't even remember the formula I had on it, but it I came back and I looked through them and I'm like, those guys at the bottom, they need to go. We need to get rid of them. We need to prune. They're either a low margin, we're not making much money off the whole thing, or they're hard to work with, or I don't really want to work with somebody who doesn't. They need to respect the technology, and I don't mean they need to bow down to it or anything like that. They need to know they make more money because that computer in front of them turns on every morning or wakes up every morning when they sit down in front of it, and they're able to do their job. And if it's like, really, do I have to get rid of Windows 7? Yes, you do. Do I have to get off Windows? Yes, you have to get off Windows 10. This thing hasn't died yet. Can I keep running it? The answer should be no. No, you can't keep running it. That's how you make money. And maybe, it's not making money for everybody, but the person sitting down doing the accounting or the books or the shipping and they're on a computer all the time, why would you want to run that for 5, 6 years? It, recognize the value. That's important to us. So back to your question. More recently, I've started loading stuff into Chat GPT. Load in an invoice for the month. Load in all the hours for the month. Load in my tech's wages. So it knows which tech at what rate was able to pay. Uh, we had to pay them for them to spend 7 hours, and this guy to spend 3 hours, and this guy to spend half an hour on their contract. And then we look at it and look at the what's that number? The AHR.
Oh,
Uh,
EHR, effective
yeah,
hourly rate?
yeah, yeah.
My
Was that
favorite number in the world.
is that off your podcast?
Yeah, I do take credit for the popularization of that, but it's a great number. It's a great number.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was doing. I cherry picked. I took our 2 top clients and put them in there, and I went,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that's
Yes,
they are
yes,
great."
yes.
But now I need to go through and kind of look at the other ones. But yeah, the formulas that I saw were like, "Oh, this makes sense. I can understand this."
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And that first number that you're describing, that agreement gross profit, that to me is if I could, just wave a magic wand and every MSP owner easily and effortlessly had that number in front of them every month and they could see the trend, that's what I would do for the world. What we so often see is a guy has, 50,000, $150,000 of recurring revenue, and that feels really good. It's, good cash flow. It feels stable, all the wonderful things. But when we start digging into it, it's, oh, wow, some of those contracts are only giving you a 30% gross profit. We're shooting for 65%. We're not being as effective on those, whether we're over delivering relative to what we charge or we're just not charging enough. That's the heartbreaking moment is when we look here and we say, okay, the target's 55% gross profit for your service department. You're at 43%. Right. And now we got to figure out why. Well, let's look at your dominant revenue model and your services. It's your recurring. Look at those contracts. They're not delivering. You're working your butts off. You guys are trying to do great things for your clients, but you're just not getting that financial, victory that you deserve. So
and
getting that insight is so critical.
and you have to have that. You have to make that money because you know what? I want to go hire the next technician and I want to be selective. I want to hire a better technician or the best technician that I can. And I want to provide better services. And it's just you know, if you're not profitable or if you're not as profitable as you need to be, you can't deliver the services that you need to deliver. You know, we had a sales call and somebody said, "Well, you're not the cheapest," and I don't remember what industry it was, but uh, like well, would you hop in the cheapest car you could find and run across the country?
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's very good. Yeah, no, it is that constant balance of what do I, the business owner, decide my margins have to be in order for this to be worth my time to even operate this business, and then start balancing it with what does the market, what are they used to paying, and how much education do I have to do to get them to see the value in paying the rates that I demand.
Yeah,
And the market will tell you if you're going to get it or not, but
you know, I,
compromising down doesn't really work so well for us.
we've uh, we've closed some businesses. The sales cycle is, we've closed them in as quick as 6 weeks. We've had as long as 13 months. And those 13-month ones, those are the ones who said, yeah, I like you guys. It's just too much. This one's cheaper. And they come back after their 1-year contract and they're like, yeah, we're ready to go with you. I love those. I
Yeah.
love those.
Yeah, no doubt. And and that's that 13 months, it kind of stunk to not have them, 13 months earlier. But after that experience and now staying with you, now you got them for a lifetime. They're yours to lose,
Yeah.
because they
And you
know
know what?
what not great looks like.
And you know what? My prices are higher this year than they were last year.
Yes, yes, yes. I know I'm such a pushover when somebody comes back a year later, 2 later, like, well, you said it was this much. I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess I did. I'm such a weakling with that. Now, let me ask you this. So we've got, we kind of see our P&L benchmarks. You've described that you're getting into that agreement gross profit and that effective hourly rate land. Let me ask you about just kind of the blocking and tackling, the simplest number of them all, that billable utilization. How are you guys playing that game? Are we students of that? Are we really measure and are maniacal about it. Where do you land on the billable utilization topic?
Okay. So define a little more billable utilization. So it- we're not, well, I won't go into our PSA or anything like that, but define more how you mean that term.
Sure, sure. I mean, just thinking about a simple fraction, the top number, the numerator is going to be the number of hours an employee spent working on a project, working on a ticket, billing against an agreement. That's my billable
Uh,
number.
yeah.
The bottom number, the denominator, is going to be the number of paid for hours in the period measured. So 40 hours, for example. So
Right.
billable hours divided by paid for hours.
Um, man, I told you I come back and tell people that the bill's going to be higher the next at 13 months later. Um, with our employees, yeah, we've been lax. We've been, it's like, hey, get your time on the tickets. Hey, get your time on the tickets. Um, really, we weren't even beating that drum until the last 2 or 3 years, and um, it's hard with the when you've raised them one way and you start trying to make them change and do the other thing. So to this day, I am still not confident that they're recording all the hours that they're working. We've got a new service delivery manager in. He's got some metrics that he's got to hit, and we're working on that. But so any number I would have might be a little off, and it's always masked by our growth. I mean, not always. It is currently masked by our growth. As far as you know, when you got people new, you got new L1s, your tech twos and tech threes are spending time with them, and they are you know. So this one ticket that has 45 minutes might have had a level one and a level two on it, or level one and a level three on it together. So yeah, that's my next class. That's the next 200 level class, 300 level class to kind
Yeah.
of look down.
Yeah, no, I said you don't stand in a short line with the other lessons that we were talking about. On this one, you're standing in a pretty short line. That billable utilization, that's kind of your earliest stage number to really get right. So, and you can turn that around very easily to start reporting on it. But there is that age old thing of how do we get the techs to enter their time, right? Um, and that's a battle that gets fought, and it just gets fought so awkwardly and ham-handedly. I'll tell you, I think we've got another podcast series that one of the episodes a few months back was stop telling your techs to enter their time.
Okay.
Because that's the only way surefire to get them to not enter their time is to tell them to enter your time, right? It's very much the standard at our organization is we enter 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, and we submit our time on Friday at 5 p.m. and we enter time as we go. We say that one time, we print it out, we have a policy, it's on everyone's desk. Now it's the classic game of inspecting at the same rate that you expect. Right? They get trained to enter their time the minute you bug them about it because you're trying to do billing or trying to do payroll or whatever it is.
Yeah.
If instead we kind of said, hey, they're just humans. They're not going to work in their best interest. If I expect it entered as they go, then I should be checking it as I go. So I should be checking in at 11 a.m., 2 p.m., 4 p.m. for a couple of weeks. And when they're not entering their time, I'm going to just go over to them or call them and say, hey, bud, take a break, enter your time. You're good. Go ahead, just take a break. Are you caught up? No, here, just take a break. Get it done. Nice smiles, no judgment.
Yeah.
Second or third time you do that, they'll get the hint.
Yeah.
And then you get to throttle back and throttle up as their behavior changes. But for some reason, everyone wants to make it more complicated than that. and and it is really just that simple. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's such a frustrating thing for techs because oftentimes they're wearing the weight of the world on their shoulders, aren't they? I got to remember to call that person back. I need to make a decision, enter my time, or go help that person. It's
Right.
tough.
And when your techs are bought in and your techs are taking care of your clients, and when they're striving to do the best thing, man, you can't fault them for that. I mean, you know, oftentimes Jason and I come back and said, okay, um, we don't have enough staff. You know, we're what we're asking them to do and get done, um, and make sure it all gets in. They are taking care of our clients, and we take care of our employees so they can take care of our clients. Um, and sometimes we have to add headcount. And the bad thing is, I can't go back to the ticket bucket and look at the hours and go, of course we need to add more add more headcount. But I know internal pulse and feel it. Um,
And feel
yeah,
it. Yeah. And I think to your point, being able to get into those tickets and say, there's my proof. I knew we needed more people. Um, absent of that, just another area on the P&L that can start giving you that sense of validating what you're feeling is this service salaries to service revenue ratio, that 33%. When we take all of that service revenue, recurring hourly and project, and then divide that into our service payroll, if we're way under 33%, you can be darn sure that you are understaffed.
yeah,
Unfortunately, we're typically much over that 33%, where we're just the revenue. We don't have the revenue to support the payroll count. Doesn't mean we ain't busy. Just means we haven't reconciled the pricing and our costs just yet.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Now it's fun, but that's the fun part about, being 7 years in and having the successes you have is that you get to make the decision. Am I going to work on the business in this fashion and take the time and start teasing it out and, trusting my numbers? That's a fun part of the journey, I think.
yeah, yeah. I moved over here into an office and off of the main floor, and that's more often I have to trust the numbers. You know, I'm over there in the pit. You know, twice a day, maybe. You know,
Yes.
so if
Yes.
I can't feel I can't keep that feeling. I can't understand everything if I need to also be relying on my numbers. So yeah,
Yeah. I tell everyone watching this, just trust me, these guys have killed it on the revenue side, an area where most of you wish you were. But I also love highlighting the fact that and I'm speaking to the audience right now, but his journey on understanding the financials is just beginning. So for Barry McKinley clients, they may not have always reached their highest level of revenue achievement, but they know their numbers really well. So it's this balance. You can still kill it the way these guys are, even if you don't know your numbers. But once you know your numbers, then you've got to go back and understand the numbers in order to make sure we're profitable and understand why or why not. So
yeah.
you guys have solved the toughest part of the equation, which is how to get growth.
Yeah. So, and if we go back to that, you talked about one turning point in the business, and I said that was the tech tribe, and that was
Yeah.
understanding billing by head count and other things. At the next turning point was we were being courted by Arsenal, outsourced cold calling place for quite a while, and we just we put them off, and then finally. We listened to him again and heard him out and said, "Okay, we'll try it." It's a big bite. It was a huge bite, and it was, it was. I could invest that money somewhere else. I could invest that in another head count, a good head count. But we bit off on it, and we had clauses in there about how we could get out and what they had to perform to meet. And I remember that whiteboard I told you about. One third of it over here with referrals and somebody from the website. This whole other area is two-thirds of the board that was empty was people who don't know us and people we don't know.
Right.
And so they've been calling for us. They've been calling for us for it'll be 2 years in March, I think. And they have brought a lot of revenue to the table. It's not well, I should take it back. We went 8 months without landing, without closing a deal. Um, that is that's kind of like, oh, wow. But they were putting us the first call, the first one that we got in front of, it's like, I had no idea these guys were there. They had no idea we were here. they were, you start talking, 50, 60, 70 man shop that needs our support, needs us, and has project work on top of that. It's like, oh, this is real. And we saw that early on. We've had a few misses, you walked in front of a couple, it's like, okay, that was too small, but that's where we got our sales. We refined our sales process. We started closing deals after 8 months with them, and we
Yeah.
continued to close deals with them. We've closed deals on our own as well. So we've improved our internal sales process. We've improved, and we work with them very closely. A lot of feedback. And Jason's first call after a sales call is call up our tech, our rep up there at Arsenal, and say, hey, this is how it went. This is what's going on, and he's taking and tracking all that stuff, so that he can help us with those 13-month sales cycles when they sign with somebody else. He's keeping them on there. You got to lead for life.
That's right. That's
You
right.
just keep following back up on them. And I'd listen to his calls, and it's not me. I couldn't do it. I am not going
Nope.
to pick up the phone. Hey, let me talk to somebody. Let me talk to somebody. Tell me about your systems. I couldn't do it. Could not do it. But that really, with the change and making, billing the right way, and change in getting in front of the right kind of people. So
Good for you guys for making that decision to bring sales in as part of your strategy. Again, that's not every MSP is willing or able to take that, that next step, that risk, if you will. So the foresight you guys had to do that is admirable. And I'll tell you, I've got a 19-year track record of saying, do not hire outside cold callers. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I've been right for 19 years. I've been right for 17 years. Arsenal, they're coming up. They're proving me wrong, and I'm so excited to see it finally happen. And I think the model of which they do. And I think all the other people before them have tried. They're good people. They're trying to do something good. But I think Arsenal's model is what's getting the success. They're doing a little different than everyone else did before. So
yeah,
yeah, super excited for them and for you guys.
yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
it's been good.
Yeah, good for you, man. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure having you on and just chopping it up with you for the afternoon. Where can people go find you guys out in the world?
Yeah, so it's Integritech.io. We are a Northwest Arkansas-based company, taking care of the local people and spreading out as far as we can to take care of some others. We've got a LinkedIn presence. Actually, we're using MSP Camp as doing our marketing right now, and we're seeing fresh stuff out there. It's going out every day, and kind of what you said. None of this stuff you don't outsource it and don't talk about it. It's you you find the right people, you get them involved, you use their system, and then you stay engaged in their system. And we're doing same thing we did with Arsenal. We're doing with MSP Camp. It's hey, this blog article doesn't sound right. This is not our tone. Hey, that post, you're right on, spot on. Keep doing that stuff. So, yeah, we've got a LinkedIn presence, and I think it's Integritech MSP is what you would find us at under there. And yeah, that's who we are and what we do.
Outstanding. Well, very good, Alan. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Everyone else, thanks for joining us today. If we earned it, give us a like, a share, and subscribe. It makes a big difference. And Alan, we'll catch you later.
All right. Thanks so
All right.
much. Bye.
Bye.